the next drill incorporates bags. All right, whether you got the big, the big fat agility bags or the short ones, we use the short ones as best we can. Our quarterback has to be a threat as a runner and as a thrower. So we're going to do the running back drills going through the bags like anyone else. We're going to run through them 2 feet in, 1 foot in. I got a baseball bat here. It's a wiffle ball bat that we tape up just to kind of poke at them. I've used lacrosse sticks, all right, that you tape up. Just something to kind of, if anything, it's a pain. I like to hit them with them when they're doing pass on air, just to kind of get them comfortable being uncomfortable. But here, take the ball with you, all right. When we get to the second coach, all right, if you're fortunate enough to have a second coach there or an injured guy or a trainer or a manager or whatever, all right, double up on the second coach, win in trouble double. So the first coach we're going to go through and just wrist above our elbow into our belly button, all right, go through the bags in whatever manner that we tell them to, all right, and just one. And then on the second, we're going to double up. There's a lot of different ways to do it, whether it's grab the wrist or put the hand on the ball. But we want everything to be the same, and just putting that second hand on there, win in trouble double. So we're getting work at that. All right, and then just give me some sort of move at the end, maybe a little bit of burst. Okay? And again, it's also a little bit of a conditioning deal. I think we oftentimes forget, especially if your quarterback is a guy that is involved in the run game. They don't quarterbacks don't tend to run a whole lot in practice. And then all of a sudden they get to the game and they're having to run a lot. So I think that, the more of those kind of conditioning things that you can do with your quarterback without them thinking it's just basic conditioning, the better. And this is one of those deals. But here's a good look at our quarterback, all right? And you can kind of see, great job of high and tight, wrist above his elbow, all right, and then win in trouble double. So he feels this defender coming in, okay, gets that wrist up and then doubles up and then give the ball to the official. Okay, and then we'll drop through again. I think you can get caught up in having a zillion different fundamentals. To me, the biggest one is keep your base. All right, don't let your heels click. All right, and then when it's time to throw, have as many cleats in the ground as you can. And then everything we're going to do is going to kind of evolve around that. So here we're being very deliberate going through the bags. All right, again, having a teaching progression, not necessarily just throwing them out there, go game speed all the time. Here, a very deliberate way of going through the bags, and we go both ways. All right, and then here we're going fast. All right, we're going fast. And again, the baseball bat is just to make them uncomfortable. Sometimes I stick it right in their faces, they're throwing or whatever it might be. And I don't have a problem when we're going fast with us throwing off balance here. I might even kick the bag at them so that they are off balance so that we can get practices at those type of throws as well. All right, a good way, and this is maybe a once or twice a year drill, but putting the bags, especially if you're able to have the shorter ones, all right. Sometimes I've even done this when I was at a Division III program where we just put towels out and stress them playing with base so that their feet aren't coming together. Okay, and here's a great example of just having base, getting our back hip through the throw. We're not moving in the pocket great. I'd love for us to slide right a little bit here, but here's Nathan Rourke, who is the starting quarterback up for the BC Lions up in Canada, was probably on his way to being the MVP of the CFL this year until he got injured. But here he is coming backside, all right, and he's got, 600 pounds coming at his front side, so he's not able to get through the throw, and he drops a dime here with just really getting his back hip through the throw, having some base. All right, another thing that we can do with bags And you know, I hear D-line coaches talk all the time about having their rush lanes and keeping the quarterback, all right, in the pocket. And you know, I think that it's important that you work on the quarterback stepping through some of those lanes. So we'll have a lane here, a lane here, and a lane here, all right? And then I give numbers, so 1, 2, 3, so that they're not always throwing to the same guy. So the quarterback, I'm going to move him in the pocket. One pet peeve is that, you know, you'll see quarterbacks and they're moving the quarterback around for 8 or 9 moves. That never happens in a game. You're fortunate if you get one movement to the right, one movement to the left, and then you got to start a lot of times getting rid of the ball, throwing it away, or taking off and running. You don't get all these different, you know, 8 or 9 movements. So, you know, a couple movements one way or the other, and then step through, and then I'll say either 1 or 2. Usually if they're stepping through this way, I won't say 3 because that's a little unrealistic. But again, don't click your heels, keeping some base and stepping through and making the throw. All right, and we'll do that through the bags. All right, and then one way is to have them run through the bags as well. All right, so as they're, I'll say go through and they run through the bag. All right, and that gets to this clip, I think. Here coming up, the quarterback's going to move in the pocket a little bit and then see that lane and run through the bag right there. So, you know, that's an example of us working on something that happened in the game, and hopefully we execute maybe a little bit better because we've practiced that drill. Again, us working through the rush lane, all right, and delivering the ball. All right, and then the last drill I'm going to show you, and before I show you, I think that hopefully you've noticed all of these have been movement in the pocket drills. We live in a day and age where guys are doing 7-on-7, all right, from the youngest of ages, and I love watching it because there's a lot of times the quarterbacks don't even drop back, let alone worry about moving in the pocket or avoiding a rush. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good that can come from you know, practicing your craft and throwing and catching and defending, and there's a lot of good that can happen in 7-on-7 leagues. But there's also a lot of bad that can happen from it and developing bad habits. So just throwing from the pocket is something that most quarterbacks are able to do pretty comfortably because they do it so much. 7-on-7, albeit a great thing. I think as the season goes along, there's something that like pulling away from 7-on-7 a little bit because it is a little bit unrealistic. But all of these are movement in the pocket drills because quarterbacks spend so much time 1, 2, 3 and throw. All right, 1, 2, 3 hitch and throw. What they don't spend a lot of time on is moving in the pocket. Finding the center of the pocket is what we talk a lot about. Try and find the center of the pocket and small subtle movements. A lot of times big movements get you in trouble. The O-line doesn't know where you are. All right, that guard that thinks that his camera, you know, is pointed right at you, and all of a sudden you're not where he thinks you are. You get holding calls and you get sacks that way. So, but this is a box drill. You can certainly use bags. We'll use cones at times just to be the corners. And this is a drill that is mostly a ball security drill, but we all like the nice square movements, all right, the small subtle movements, and then you watch a game and some of, as athletic as quarterbacks are, a lot of times it's not that. They got to spin and they got to move and they get grabbed and they get spun around. And so we're going to work on that. But the biggest thing we're going to work on here is 2 hands on the stinking football. All right. So I'm going to have 3 pass rushers here. All right. I'm going to point to them. They're going to rush the quarterback. And I tell the quarterback, hey, I don't really need you to stay square. I want this to be almost like a game of tag in a phone booth. Find a way to get away from the bad guy. So I don't need you necessarily keeping your shoulders downfield. But what I am looking for is keeping 2 hands on the ball. And there's 2 great clips, a spin move, all right, by the quarterback. Those happen in a game. They happen more than you think. All right, and keeping 2 hands on it, and then a rusher coming. All right, now maybe that's a sack in a game, That's okay, but I don't want to turn the ball over. Sacks, I don't want them, but I definitely don't want turnovers.